Take two.
How many different variations of goal setting do you think that we've been through over the years?
You can't just throw that question on me. I don't know. A lot.
And we're talking like 20 years. We've worked together since I was 16.
Correct.
So
that would have made me 18, 19.
Yeah. And then we've owned since 2005, 2006, which we can never remember.
Nope.
That's it. Our brain capacity is a different story.
A lot. I don't know off the top of my head.
So, I mean, I think that's the point of what I want to talk about, because we reach the goals or we pivot to make the goal something new.
Correct.
So in goal setting, the goal itself is important. Getting to the goal is important. That journey to get there is just as important as the goal itself.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Caffeine and Ambition, hosted by the Cinder Sisters. I'm Stacy.
And I'm Megan. And what we are here to do on our podcast is tell you about business, life, families, essentially everything that we do, we want to share with you because we have a lot of self-confidence. We've learned a lot of self-confidence over the years.
We sure have.
And we want to share that with you. We want to show you how.
Let's do this.
I don't think I've said this before in the podcast, and I'm going to butcher it, but there's a kid's book, and it's in French, about anxiety. So the mom says to the anxious little dinosaur, something along the lines of, if it hasn't finished the way that you want it to finish, then it's not yet done.
I love that.
And it's one of my favorite quotes, though I can never remember the exact wording for it, and my translation of it never works because the French version of it is perfectly phrased.
Yes.
And I can't translate it correctly in my brain the way that I want to. But I love the idea of that because to me, goal setting is about reaching the goal. And we've made, I don't even know, hundreds of goals for ourselves over the years. For ourselves, for the business, for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them we've met and some of them we haven't. But the ones that we haven't have never deterred us.
No, because I think once we realize after the first few goals that we hit, I think we realized after that it's not actually the goal. Because when you get there and you get whatever it is that you were going for, it's great. Feels good for a day. And then you're like, what's next? So I think we've realized that it's getting to that goal is the journey, and that's the excitement and the ups and the downs and the failures. I think for me is much more fun than it is to finally get the thing.
Mm-hmm. Which has a lot to do with being able to pivot in the business as well. Well, in life, in your normal personal life, being able to pivot, but also in the business, that's what's kept us going. Because in the hard times, in the times where we didn't meet the goals, in the pandemic, in all of these different aspects of how things can go badly in your business, meeting the goals or not just meant that we pivoted to a different goal.
Yeah.
We pivoted what the business was capable of. We pivoted our roles in the business, which is what we're currently doing like right now.
Yeah.
We are pivoting what we do because our goals have changed.
And sometimes the realization of that pivot too is a bit of a kick in the face. That's what I felt like with this current one, was what you thought you were going for and you wanted really bad, and then you were getting there, and then all of a sudden you realize I really don't want that at all. But it's kind of cool to be like, I guess, aware enough to be able to pivot and go, oh, well, I'll wallow in my sorrow for a second and then be like, okay, well, what do I want to do? What is it that now makes me feel good?
Well, and it took me longer to get to that realization at this current moment, the goals that we had set for ourselves, or I suppose I should only speak for myself, the goal that I had set for myself and what I thought I was capable of and good at is dramatically shifting.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of that, which is very difficult. And then I realized where we read this book called Motive. And
by the way, to cut Meg off, great book. We were recommended to read the book. And the nice thing is it's a really short read. I mean, for me, I don't read a lot, but I listen to audiobooks. And it was one of those, not awe-inspiring, because it wasn't awe-inspiring. It was a kick in the face of, what do you really want? If you are an entrepreneur, if you're looking to be a CEO, read the book.
It's an eye-opener. I think that's valid. Mm-hmm. It's an eye-opener about yourself and how you see the job that you do.
Correct.
And how you see it impacting others. And it's about leadership. It's about CEO being a leader. So yes, totally agree. Recommend that book. Absolutely. But that's what I sent you that message on Sunday.
Yep.
Because last week when we read it, going through the Tim Hortons drive-thru, and I asked you about the book. So like I think you assumed I hadn't read it yet, so you were trying to tell me your breakdown of it. And I was like, oh no, I read it last night.
I read that.
I read it already. But I wanted to know your take on it and what you thought about being a CEO after having read that or having listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still wasn't far ahead enough in my thought process, even after having read it, to be at the point that you were at. Like, you were further ahead than me. It took me several more days to digest the fact that that isn't where I am. Yeah. And that isn't what I want to do anymore.
Because we've held on for a long time to the idea of being there and getting to that point. But now that we've been trying to do that job for so long, but it's not congruent to who we are anymore.
Or our future goals.
Our future goals just don't fit into that. And I really just don't want to do it. I don't want to be a CEO anymore.
This is not a resignation podcast.
That job description.
I don't want job description
to be
me,
that.
To me, it falls into the goal setting.
Yeah,
because we had that goal, and we had our business. We were running our business. We did it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
We had to be those people.
Correct.
And there are a lot of aspects of being a CEO, of being a leader, that are things that I think that I'm good at, that I learned to do very well.
Mm.
And over the years, having learned what it is to give myself to that role, the disparity between what you need to do in that role and having boundaries really kicked me in the face.
Yeah.
Lack of boundaries just made it impossible as a long-term aspect.
Yeah.
I burnt myself out. I killed myself for other people. It didn't work. So that was my realization on Sunday. The goals that we have right now are different than the goals that we had when that would have been our job description. And I appreciate my capabilities and myself well enough to say that I think I did that well for a few years, learning as I went, better at some points than others, but to the detriment of myself.
Correct.
And I don't want to do that anymore. But so then in this mental inner monologue, am I capable of setting those boundaries to be able to be that person properly without killing myself by trying to do it and trying to be the be all and end all for everyone else? And the answer is no, I'm not capable of setting those boundaries, of learning how to be that role. I can be the support system, the one who listens, the one who helps, the one who cares. I like doing that. But if I don't have the boundaries to protect myself set in there, then I'm not actually doing that job.
That's so true. Yeah.
So no longer is that our goal.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. Also learning at this exact moment that been there, done that not very well. So let's move on. So what are our current goals?
Current goals are shifting responsibilities onto those who do it extremely well. Tasks that we do not do well. And I think we've already started doing that. What else? Doing things that we're good at or that interest us or that spark that flame again. Because I think that was a big thing that we lost for a long time, was the exciting things about. I know every day isn't going to be exciting and your job isn't always an exciting, great thing. But I think you need to be able to go to your workplace or go whatever it is that you do and be somewhat excited most days, fulfilled at the end of the day. So I think that's really important, and I think we need to move towards that, or we are moving towards that. And what is that? Can't quite tell you all yet.
So we're still in a flux state.
Well, yes, kind of. I mean, we know where we want to go.
We're traveling the world. We're taking over the world.
Pretty much.
Pinky in the brain style.
Yes, it has to do with a lot of travel. So that's our biggest thing now. Because really, we were tied to the building, tied to the desk, to our phones, to everything within the business. And now I don't want to be there anymore. I'm good. Did that long enough. Built it to where it was built. And now at this point, it's so big that this isn't a good job for us anymore.
I think that's a very good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
It has become bigger than us.
Correct.
We've known for a long time that we don't need to be the smartest or most capable people in the room. But finding those people and putting them in place to cover everything that we needed to cover, that we aren't even capable of covering.
Correct.
As the bosses, as the owners, as the founder, whichever word you want to use.
Whatever you want to use. Yeah.
We were not capable of every aspect.
Yeah.
At this size of company.
Agree.
So we brought people in to do it.
Yep.
And then we step out and move into a different direction.
Correct.
Start something new.
Yep.
Which was another realization the other day, which was fantastic. And this has to go with our next goals. We realized that we are really good at starting.
Yes. I love that from the ground up thing. Like that grind, I love that.
And we know that consistency is not our forte.
No, it is not.
So that's why we find people to run after we start.
Yeah.
But it's incredible, and I think it's something that we overlook often, that the startup phase is scary for people. It's the reason why a lot of people don't start their businesses.
That's fair.
Don't do the project that they want to do. It's a lot of the reason why people don't reach their goals, because they're too afraid to start. Or not even afraid, that might be unfair. There's so many pieces to put into place.
There is.
That they don't start because they don't know where, how,
or
which
how.
piece.
Yeah. Well, there isn't ever one right piece to start with. I think it depends on what business you're doing. I think one step in front of the other. That's all we ever do. Just one step in front of the other. Start with this, and then start with the idea, and then okay, all right, what's next? All right, what's after that? And then it will fall into place for you because things will get missed. I mean, which happens, and that failing at not even failing, but missing something is part of the journey. So that when you do it the next time, you don't forget that thing. I think that's what I enjoy about it. The climb.
Mm-hmm. The excitement in the beginning. It's the adrenaline rush of the beginning portion, which is something that we are very good at. Yeah. We've learned over the years to be good at it. I mean, adrenaline addiction is a real thing, so maybe we're there.
Maybe we have a little problem with that.
It's like when the plane starts, when we go on the plane, and that takeoff portion, which is usually what scares people.
I love that. That takeoff part. And so my husband and I are polar opposites at that point. He does not like planes. He doesn't like flying. He loves to go places, and he will fly to go to the places, but he's the one with his hands like gripped around the handle seats, just hanging on for dear life. And I'm the one with my hands up in the mirror being like, yay! Yeah. a good point.
I'm not saying it's a bad addiction. I'm just saying maybe this is something that we've gotten used to, and that's why it doesn't bother us to start the piece.
That's fair.
We're not good with failure. I joked about that myself at home this weekend. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I was talking about our other sister. I was like, I don't know if you know this, but we don't like failure.
Nope.
Caused a bit of laughing.
Yeah.
Because we're not good at failure.
We're not good at failure.
But we are very good at pivoting. So it's just a different way of looking at it. If it's not finished the way you want it to be, it's not yet done.
Correct.
Which is why it's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, I love that.
Because we'll pivot, we'll flex, we'll move in a different direction, keeping the end goal in place.
Yes.
Or a marginally shifted version of the end goal.
Yeah.
Because there's always one aspect. Like, I mean, one of our biggest goals at this moment that we're working toward is travel, but not a grand overall all-encompassing travel. As much as, yes, I would love to travel the world just for fun.
Just because.
Whatever. Yeah. If we are planning a specific business in a different country and a location, a castle, if you will. Trying not to give away our goals here. But if we're planning one specific thing, we're good with this country, that country. Mm-hmm. Like, the shift is still there. The end goal stays in sight.
That's very true, actually. Yeah.
And a business in that country stays in sight.
Correct.
But there are so many pieces of that puzzle that are flexible.
But I think you have to be, because can you imagine being like, this is the only thing, that's all we're doing, and then if you never get to it, or things like maybe you want that thing so bad, but it's not actually supposed to be exactly that way. I feel like we're very much letting things slide once. If it's not meant to happen, it's not meant to happen. We talk often about like a white carpet moment, because if it's meant to happen that way, it will flow easily into it. It shouldn't be constantly like, oh, this didn't happen, I'm going to push again at the same thing and try and open the same door. Well, maybe that door isn't supposed to open the next door. And it could lead you to a bigger, better place, or it's very similar to what you were looking for, but better for you as a person.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But I think that's why people struggle with it. Struggle with goal setting and with hitting their goals. Struggle with failure because you look at it as failure because it's not that exact thing that you had in mind. It didn't tick every single box. So it's not right.
Which is crazy because, I mean, if it's meant to happen, then it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And if it isn't, let it go.
We also consider ourselves workaholics. So that goes along with that as well. Yeah. A lot of people, I think, will hit a point where they feel like they've worked too hard for something that's not working. And they'll give up, which I have to admit is valid. Because if you don't have either the passion or the addiction to starting that adrenaline rush, then you aren't going to last as long.
Yeah,
trying to make it towards your goal because that wasn't the thing to begin with.
That's true.
Do you remember a goal that we set that we didn't hit?
I want to say like becoming a designer. Like I wanted to be a designer forever, but I guess I kind of did. We did our own line for a bit, and then it just fell through. Once we got to that point of designing the dresses, and then once I realized that it wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, and it was such a pain, and there was always all these awful loopholes, and it was an absolute pain to do. And then I was like, I don't want to do this. This isn't for me.
So it's not that you didn't hit the goal, it's that going to college and going to school to be a designer, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. No, that's very true. That part didn't happen. But I mean, we still designed dresses afterwards. Very good point.
You did become a designer. We had our own line of gowns.
I can't think of one that we failed at then.
That's kind of my point. We didn't. One, because we don't like failure, and we're very good at convincing ourselves that it's not failure as long as we shift it to something else and keep moving.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also works into workaholic because we keep moving. So I suppose that's kind of how it goes. It depends how hard you're willing to work for that thing. And if you feel like that end goal is it, that's what you want to be, to do that shining star in your life, you have to keep working at it, whether it means that you're working head on at it.
Yes.
Or you're doing 5 other side jobs, working at that piece and learning that piece. It may not be school. It may be something on your own. It might be like, I mean, there was something that it was somebody trying to sell a course, but there was something online that I saw the other day that was talking about you can do all the courses, or you can learn all the aspects that you need to learn in order to do XYZ for free online if you're dedicated and have the time. It will take the time and it will take the dedication. You have to keep with it, and you have to be able to self-regulate in order to make it to the end of all the learning that you need to do XYZ. Or you can do this course, and I am saying it was a sale for this course. Yes,
of course.
It was a sales pitch, but it's valid. How hard do you want to work at it? How long do you want to put toward it? How important is it to you? Is it something that you're willing to throw money at to make it quicker and you get the paperwork? Okay. Or is it something that you feel like, maybe I'm not ready in a few other aspects, so I'll take the time. I'll learn on my own. We do have a problem wanting to learn all the things on our own.
Yes.
And I only say problem in the sense that we put too much on ourselves.
We do.
Too many learning things, too many facets. Sometimes do set too many goals. Yeah, and if we just contained and worked toward one, we would be done a whole lot faster.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. We do. Yeah. Not good at streamlining.
We do not streamline. We're like squirrels.
Yeah.
Too many nuts.
On caffeine.
We're all on caffeine. Caffeine and ambition. I mean, there's a reason that the podcast is called Caffeine and Ambition. So tell me, what comes to the top of your mind? What goal did we reach?
Second location.
And we've talked before about that realization of that day. Not even the first day it opened.
It wasn't even the first day it opened. That wasn't even it at all. It was like months later when we drove around the corner. It was just random all of a sudden. Yeah. But we talked about that in another podcast. Where it was an aha moment of, oh my gosh, we did it. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
And it was something that we had talked about for a couple of years at least.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, no, actually that's not even fair. We've talked about that since the beginning because your comment was we're going to be as big as Kleinfeld's.
Yep, I did. And Meg laughed at me.
And I laughed.
Yeah.
And I'm more on the dreamy boat than I was back
then. She's getting good. Got her on board.
But we did talk about a second location for a very long time and then worked toward that second location.
We did.
For at least a couple of years, I believe.
Oh yeah, because if we looked, like in town, we ended up all over the countryside looking at places and trying to find the right commercial space for the next spot. Yeah, so I mean, things don't happen overnight, although they feel like they do. Once you get to the other end of it, you're like, holy crap, that was so fast. But it wasn't. It's been years in the making, but they go by so fast.
I did see something great about that, like a quote about it doesn't matter how long, I think you sent it to me, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Once you get to the end, it's going to feel like it happened overnight.
It's so true.
How much time you're willing to put into it to make that goal happen.
Yeah.
We've used a lot of quotes over the years to keep us focused on what we wanted to get to.
Oh yeah.
And I remember even very early on, because I think you've always been further into this than I have. I used to be a lot more analytical. I am still more analytical than you are.
I'm hands down the dreamer.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I kind of float.
You know what the stars said last night, Meg? We do a lot of that.
And I kind of float halfway between the two now, which is fun. But even very early on, you made me one of those like puffy boards.
Yes.
That I could put quotes on. And I had one of my favorite quotes about entrepreneurs not giving up, because entrepreneurs said the want to quit is there every day.
Every day.
And what makes an entrepreneur is just not quitting.
Yep.
Just not feeding into that desire to quit. Because sometimes it would be a whole lot easier to do something else, to do something simple, something that didn't matter. And
totally agree.
Make the time outside of your job to fulfill yourself.
Yep.
It's one way of living. Again, addiction to adrenaline, to rush, to owning, to building, to starting.
Yes.
That's what makes an entrepreneur, in my opinion.
To seeing something through, starting something from the ground up. Yeah, love.
And being so proud of it.
Yes.
Like when we saw the second location, we drove up that day, and the pride of, wow, look at us. Yeah. We did it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sorry, terrible segue, but I found the quote. The book is Le Dîner Anxieux, and please ignore my French. I'll translate in a second as best as I can, but the quote is, Si ça ne se termine pas bien, c'est que ce n'est pas encore fini. So if it hasn't finished well, if it hasn't finished the way you wanted, then it's not yet done. Keep trying, to keep working. It is by far one of my favorite quotes, and I should either print it or put it as a screensaver or something.
Yes, yes, you should.
I don't know how long it's been that we have been embodying that. If it's not the way that we like it yet, it's not done. Keep working at it. If I don't get the answer that I want for something, and I'm not saying that we're terrible people, I'll not use a terrible word right there. I'm not saying that we're terrible people to like get things in the way, like you could just keep pushing, or you don't respect when somebody's telling you no, or they're telling you this way, or it can't be that way.
Right.
But there's always flexibility.
Agree.
To me, no doesn't, it's not a no. It's never a no. It's a what else can we do?
Right.
What can be done?
Right.
You don't, not that option? Sure, okay, fine. But what about this?
What other door? What other door is there?
Exactly.
There always is.
And so we've been doing that for a very long time without even thinking about it. Just moving, shifting, getting to where we need to be without moving around everybody. Standing in the way or saying no or saying it's not possible.
Yeah.
Just keep working. Si ça ne termine pas bien, c'est pas encore fini.
I think my favorite quote that I've had on my board forever, I think it was, I actually don't know who said it. I say Einstein, but I don't think that's right. She who attempts the absurd can achieve the impossible.
Mm-hmm. Goes again with how many people are going to tell you that that's insane, that's crazy, why would you do that?
Do you know how often we used to get told that stuff? Mm-hmm. Like even at the beginning when I would say things and you're like, oh my God, and you just shake your head. Like in the beginning we would be like, oh, sure, Stace. But then you would just shake your head after a bit. And then after a bit, you wouldn't say anything. And now you're like in with it. You're like, all right, that sounds great. Yeah.
In my defense, even when I shook my head or rolled my eyes at you, I still then came up with a plan of how to make it happen. Or instead of that, how about this?
Can we try this first?
How about we try this little bit here, and then we'll work toward that, maybe. And yes, now I'm a little further in the, okay, cool, yes, I'll get a plan for that.
All right, sounds great.
I just won't tell you that I'm shifting the plan a little bit. Maybe
it's fine.
It was just take that back a little bit. We'll get here at this time. In a few years, over to Castle? Sure. Why not?
Of course we will.
Yeah, a lot less people say that's absurd now.
But I think,
I think people are used to us coming out with crazy sentences and then laughing, and then they don't know whether we're being truthful or not.
Because probably the next day, like we've said lots of things and we show up the next day doing the thing or have done the thing and people are like, oh, they were serious. So yeah, you're right.
Or we go to a networking event and then randomly throw into the conversation that we started a podcast.
Yep.
How many things are you doing? Too many. But it's great.
Too many.
You should listen to it. Goal setting is extremely important, but to me, flexibility of how you get to that goal is even more important than the goal itself.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. So the motive, the book that we talked about, definitely, if you're in your entrepreneurial journey, if you're in that trying to grow your business, and if you have people that work for you, highly recommend. Absolutely.
It's a quick read. It's
You're
worth
right.
it.
It is quick.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really want to read the Dîner Anxieux, it's a great book.
You can probably get it in English as well if you don't speak French.
You can probably get it in English.
And you can probably get it in a bunch of languages.
I mean, it's good for adults as well, but I've definitely used it as I am 100% one of those moms that uses the books at specific times to try and teach my kid a lesson. You don't need to be anxious about that.
Yep.
It really isn't that big of a deal. You need to shift your mindset. Yeah. So I am that person. But it works for adults too. I think I used it on Chris one day.
You did. You did. Yep.
Okay, so recommend those books for sure. And then if there are others, I think we said this before, if there are other books, like if you've read books, please let us know, because we're always consuming videos, podcasts, books, anything.
And I think that's helped us out on the journey. Massively. Of course, it's helped us out on the journey. And I think it would help out other people, for everybody to share what you've learned, share what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know if you've listened to or read something that you think would help everybody or us on their journey. Thanks for listening.
We's out.